Hello and welcome to Kleshna's jewellery making channel. I'm really thrilled to have you with me today because today we're going to make this rather, have you noticed, Roaring 20s divine bracelet. Now I have created it in 3 different colours, but if you want it in any other colours, I promise you we can manage that for you as well. So shall we get on and go down to the board to see A, the other colours, and B, how we're going to make this delicious piece of jewellery. Let me take you down to my wrist to show you the most beautiful colours that I've created this design in. That's not to say they're the only ones though. So if you'd like to come down with me, I will show you. This one is Divine Light Sapphire with diamante and rather beautiful little sort of looking like marcassite beads around it. And they've got a self-made button which I will also show you. And this one is the pure AB, again with this sort of hematite colours around it. And then last but not least is the sort of rather dark Labra silver colour, and this is the colour that I'm going to be demonstrating in because I think it will stand out more and help you to see how to make this divine Roaring 20s bracelet. So now we're going to go to the board so that I can show you how to make this. So here we are down at my beautiful bead board, and I'm going to tell you what it requires to make this bracelet, although it's all kitted out, as you will know, on our website, and you can buy the kit. Now, for the purpose of the video, I'm going to use something slightly different. In the kit, you will get silver coloured delicas. However, I'm going to lose those because I think it's very unfair to show you something on something that looks invisible to the naked eye. So I'm going to bring in these little darling chaps over here. On this particular kit, we're also using Labra silver, dark Labra silver and pure Labra silver, and then we will be edging, in fact let me bring this little bit in which is already made, we'll be edging it in sterling silver, so we've got a little bit of a contrast here, and of course we will be using our divine diamante Montes, there we go. Right, so let's get started because you will be surprised at quite how tiny a start we have on this in order to get going. So I'm going to move all of these out of my little baby arena here. I sort of think of this, my little pink pinned runway as my arena. I've threaded up my divine size 12 needle with Beadalon's Wildfire thread, which is my thread of choice because it is so robust. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 4 only of these delicas, and that is at the root of this particular piece. Okay, so you have your 4 delicas on your needle, and as ever, I'm just going to pull those down. I'm going to use my index finger, which is a very, very useful bit of kit, one that we all carry around with us. Well, I hope so anyway. I'm going to pull the needle through on this, and we're going to make that into a little loop. And I know this is teeny tiny. Hold on. There we go. And then we're going to go around that tiny little loop. Can you see the loop there? Hold on. Let's show you that. We're going to go around that once more. So forgive me obscuring it with my fingers, but there is no other way of doing this, says she. Okay. Now you will only find that you do this little loop in this manner on the very first one, the very starting one of the pattern. There we go. Okay. Right, now we've got that little 4 cornered thing. We are going to pick up 1 bicone, 1 4mm bicone I'm using here. We're going to pick up a little delica, which is going to sit sit and act as our stopper. Forgive my fingers being in the way, but they've got to be in the way somehow. And then we're going back through the bead here. So I'm going to put this down here just so you can see. Can you see what I've done here? And when I pull this back, the bead will sit on the top of the bicone, just like that. You see? Brilliant. Okay, and then I pick up one more. I'm going to do this 4 times, which won't take me long. It won't take you very long to do. You will be surprised at how quickly each one of these will make up. I've got my little tail here. So there we go. Number 2 going in now. You know, this sounds a bit like the guy when he puts the acupuncture needles into me. It says number 2 going in now as I wince. Gosh, it really makes you feel a lot better after you've had acupuncture. I don't know if any of you watching this have ever had acupuncture, but oh boy, is it a wonderful alternative therapy. Very good for your neck and your back and all of these things. Strange things we talk about with each other, isn't it, when we're doing this sort of thing? But hey. Right, okay, I've now gone in to each corner of these beads and I'm just coming out at the top of the first one. Now let me just show you this. Can you see? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've made this little sort of, I don't know, 4-petaled flower type affair. Each one has got a bead on the top. You know, if you are sort of pedantic about things, which I am a little bit about the work that I do, you might want to go round, pop your little needle in here and make it so that it's that way across on each one of these, okay? Does that resonate with you? Excellent. So I've come up through the first one, the first bicone with my needle, and I'm going to pop the needle through the delica bead at the top of it. Now I've actually got these, I'm going to get my little stealthy threader, zapper, and I'm just going to zap off my tail bit here because I don't want that hanging around anymore. Do be careful when you're using, perhaps I should tell you, face to face. Let me tell you something, be very careful when you're using one of these zappers because many's the time that I've made an exquisite piece, put my zapper on it, and I've ruined the whole thing. So make sure that you hold the thread away from the work when you're using one of these zappers, okay? Now let's go back down to the board again, and I'm going to pick up my seed beads, put them on my board now, so that they're not in the way of anything. Now these are silver, but you'll see how it works very easily with these seed beads. Now, on the first instance, I'm going to pick up 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see this tiny little bead in the middle, the delica, that formed the first part of the 4. I'm going to put my needle through there we go, like that. I'm going to swivel this onto the other side because I actually put it onto, hold on, yes, let's flip this around here, like that. Sorry folks, there we go. Can you see where we are now? And I'm going to go through the first 2 of these. So I've come down, I come through the bead in the middle here, and I'm going to go back up through 2 of these little seed beads here. Let me just move that out so you can see what I'm doing. 1, 2. So my needle's gone through 2 seed beads. Can you see that? Okay. That will then bring that down, and I'm going to pick up only 3 because the first 2 of the 5 that I have used has gone into there. So I'm picking only 3 up, and this acts to draw the work together. It looks a little bit like a Louis Vuitton, but then there could be other manufacturers of suitcases. It looks a little bit like their handbag motif when I finished. You'll see what I mean. I'll show it to you in a sec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. Again, I'm going back down through the middle again. There we go. I'm going to go, hold that down with that finger, and I'm going to go back up through 2 of these beads here. Do you see? I'm outlining. It's rather like getting a virtual sort of one of those lovely gel pens and outlining a darker thing in a rather beautiful colour. Now I'm only going to pick up 3 of these beads again, and I'm going through my little top one, which actually holds the beads in place. That's why we're using these lovely square delicas. Now at the start of the stitch again, I pick up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads, go down, whoops, I'm going under and through the middle bead again, whoops, sorry about that. I'm going to hold that down, and I'm going back through 2 of the seed beads. 1. This is minuscule looking work, and I have to tell you, my wonderful camera woman, I have no doubt is doing a magnificent job in getting in close here. Then I'm only going to pick up 3 beads because remember I've got the first 2 down there. I'm going to do a full one so that you actually see. And the other beauteous thing about making this for yourself, so we pick up another 5, is that when I make my own, I only use 10, but there is enough in our kit to make a bracelet that actually has 11 flowers or motifs on it. So I'm coming up to the last one here. Okay, I've got, hold on, and I'm going to go up through 2 again. 1, 2. Retract the needle back on myself. That's not very clever, Kleshna. I've just gone through 1. You know, always pull the work back. The beauty of dealing in threaded work rather than metal at the moment is that you're not going to fatigue the thread. That's why I use this special thread. So I need only 3 more. 1, 2, 3 to join up through the top one, and we've reached the beginning. So can you see we've got a rather beautiful little motif here. Now the next thing we want to do is to add the Monty to it, okay? So what I want to do is I want to make this more and more secure. So I'm going to pick up 3 of these beads. Now this isn't something that's in the original instructions because, you know, it's a finessing the actual piece. That also helps to tighten up the motif. I'm then going to put my needle through the middle of one of the bicones, right the way through to the middle. Can you see where I've come out there? Excellent news. This is what we call a Monty. It's a mounted crystal here. Okay, it's shiny. It's got your beautiful crystal on one side, and then it's got the sew-on holes on the other side. I'm going to pick up my Monty, going from left to right, and then I'm going to pull this down, the other bicone on the opposite side, oopsie daisy do, and put my needle through it. Make sure that this is not twisted round when it goes on, so just check, then it will sit perfectly on the top like that. So in order to make sure that it is perfectly secure, I'm going to go round to the other axis of this and I am going to and I'm going to do it the other way as well. There we go. Through that bicone, I'm going to locate the hole for that. If you're hugely fortunate, 1 in a million, you'll be able to go straight the way through the other one. If not, pull that bicone down like that. Okay, pop your needle through, and now you've actually created one motif with the diamante in the middle of it, looking absolutely beautiful. Now, what I'm going to show you is how to get on to make your other motifs. Once I've done that, it's just a case of showing you how what I'm going to show you next is how to do the next motif in the progression. Basically, how to join up your motifs. It's like joined up writing. You start off learning how to do it with capitals and upper and lower cases. Then as you get better, you join it up, all right? So we'll go back down to the board again, and I shall show you how to join up the Montes. Okay, so you've got your lovely little Monty, your little sort of motif here. And do you understand why I say it looks a bit like the LV thing now? It's good, isn't it? You then go back through that delicate bead here, okay? You pick up your now you pick up one of these little tiny 3mm adjoining beads, okay? I've chosen this rather beautiful Labra silver one, which is in your kit. And then I'm going to pick up one more delicate bead initially. Now I'm going to go around one side of this bead here. I'm going to sew up so that this delicate bead, which is going to be, now hold on, let me just show you something. Let me put this on. Right. This little bead here is going to form the tip of your next one that's coming on. I'm going to then put my bead, so I've gone round that way, through there. I'm doing like a little box thing, okay? Through here. Then I'm going to go back down through the little 3mm bicone and back down through my delicate bead, okay? Now, this is really quite clever, this bit, because what we're going to do is to create the motif sort of back to front. Okay, so I'm going to pick up one bicone, then 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you know? I'm going to pick up the delicas. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you may remember at the beginning of this video I told you that you start in one manner but you carry on in a whole different way. So I've got these 4 delicas here. Again, but I have come through the first petal on our motif. So I'm now going to go all the way through these motifs again. I'm going to pull this up so that they're sitting right close with my finger here. Can you see that? And then I'm going to pull it round into a circle. I'm then going to go back up here again through that first petal. I'm going to go around again on this delica that's at the top here. Can you see that? I'm going down here, and then by going backwards, up and forwards again, I'm creating a perfect 4 for my petals to sit into. Can you see? It's clever, isn't it? I do love it when a plan comes together. Okay, then we're going back down through our delica. We're going to pick up from over here. Let's just put the other 3 here. 1, 2, 3, and a few of these in here. One bicone, 1 delica. We're going to go back down through the bicone. I'm sorry, this is a longish video, I reckon this one's going to be. But, do you know, at the end of it, you'll have a very beautiful bracelet, and again, more wisdom on how to, you know, you can actually take this through to work on larger bicones. You can make different things. There are lots of ways of using this technique, so it's incredibly valuable sometimes. You know, what you learn doing one thing, suddenly you can read back on to doing another piece of work. So it's useful. Let's go back down to the board again. There we go. So I'm now just putting in my fourth petal. So there we go. I'll show you exactly what I've done again in a second when I've just put this fourth petal in. And I've gone up this side. Now I think in order to make this be right, so your work should look like that next, okay? And I'm just going to go and try and sit this one a little bit further up on its side. You know, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult to get that one on the side. However, it's not insurmountably difficult. So let me just move these little fellows over here. Get off. Right. And then you just literally start putting in again your beads. You remember that we did earlier to go around it. So 3, 4, 5 of those. We're going to pick up the delica in the middle. We are going to pick up the delica in the middle. You're going to be very well behaved. Right, okay. Delica in the middle there. We're going to pick up those 2 going backwards. Then we're only going to pick up 3 because we got the 2 from the first one still sitting there. We're going through the side here. And, you know, this bit really is, quite honestly, like the first round, just carried on then. And that's 5 again. But as it's so quick, let me just dash around this side a little bit more. And then we're going to go down. We're going to pick up these 2. 1, 2. And so on. And so forth, really. So, you know, those few stitches, hold on, there we go. And remember, if you pick up too many, i.e. when you're doing this stitch going from here, when you've picked up your 2 and you're only supposed to pick up 3, never ever, you know, try and go back with your needle, with the needle on. And the reason being is that you'll split your thread probably. So there we go. I hope that makes sense what I've just said. There we go. Let's go around that. And I've almost completed another little module in my bracelet. 3 more. And then will be time to put our little Monty onto this. So to be honest with you, they form the main stitch of doing this, and what I'd like to show you next is how to finish off this bracelet. Now I'm going to finish off the bracelet with obviously not a full bracelet there, but I'm sure you'll get the gist of what I'm doing. Let me just finish going around this little bit here, and you'll have had a full 2 motifs to show. One of the other things, because this is a very delicate bracelet, I sometimes, in order to keep the Monties lined up on it, alright, just going to put my last 3 pieces on, I sometimes will put my thread right the way back through the whole thing again. There we go. Look, there we go, we got 2 little motifs there. Pretty, aren't they? And then I'm going to do the part where I go through here. Shall I just do this last bit for you, because I think that will help you. I'm picking up my Monty. I'm popping that on. Do you remember I said make sure that you don't get a tangled thread here? It's very easily done. I'm then going to go through the delica, through these 2 delicas here, up through these 3 to get onto the opposite axis, and then I'm going to go, whoopsie, through the side one. Oh, you see, that was 1,000 to 1, that one. Getting it straight in there. Cut. Fantastic, Kleshna. Bend it back so you can get through the other one here. Bob's your uncle, Fan is your aunt. Now what I will do is I will let you go away and see if you can't make a few more of these before I show you how you're going to put the clasp part and how many beads you will use on that. So I'm going to say au revoir for the moment and leave you to make a few more motifs along your bracelet. Now I'm just going to show you the one I made earlier. Look, I've used, so if you've got a bigger wrist, I've used 11 on this one. I don't know if you can see that there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But I've got quite a tiny wrist. You know, I have to say, telling you now, it's probably the only part of my body that is tiny, but I do revel in having a dainty wrist here. So I would only have done 10 for mine, okay? But, you know, a lot of my friends have got slightly larger wrists and therefore they require 11. But anyway, I'll say ta-ta now, go off and make however many of these motifs you require, and then come back and see me again in a little while, and I'll show you how to put this part on here and how to make yourself a lovely button clasp from the bicones in the kit. So what I'm going to show you now, as promised, because you will of course have your either little 10 motifs or 11 motifs now, is how you create the loop at one end of it and how you make the little right angle weave ball that will go into the loop so it can make a clasp. So I hope you've enjoyed doing this. Let me take you down to the beading board and I'm going to show you how you create the loop at one end, which is really rather clever because it's quite robust, as you can see there, almost like a metal loop. Now the way I've done that is this is your delica bead in the middle here, and this is a seed bead either side of it. I've come out of the seed bead on one side of it, and I'm going to pick up 30 beads. 5, 6, gosh, it'll take me a little while to do this, but bear with me, 7, 8, 9, you can practice your counting. Or if you have a small child, secrete about your person somewhere, you can get the small child to practice counting with you. Hold on, that's 15. Halfway there, folks, bear with me. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Almost there. 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29. There we go. So we've got 30 beads. And we're going to push them all down to the bottom here. And I'm literally going to go in on the third bead here. And I'm going to go straight the way through 3 beads. This is how I've managed to get the clasp to be so robust. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go around this, all of these beads again, I would say about twice more, which you don't need to watch me doing because that's terribly boring, but I'll go through these. It's lovely, isn't it, when you've got a nice long run of beads and you can pop your needle all the way around them. And by doing that you will make a very, very good and robust circle that, because you've got a wider bottom for the circle, it's not going to look like it's hanging on one thread. Hold on. It's raining outside today and the light is less good than when we're shooting on a bright sunny day. So I'll show you in a second just quite how stiff this clasp becomes. There we go. You might find for you, because of your tension in something, that you will make it with a few beads less. Always feel your way through seed beads too, because sometimes, hold on, if you put too much through your seed beads, wait a sec, let me flip this thread over this way here. Behave thread, right. There we go. If you put too much thread through, you can crack your seed beads, which is very irritating. Right, there we go. Can you see how that literally stands out on its own there? Makes a very good, very robust thread there. And then what I do in order to finish off is I go back down and retrace my steps. Now, the great thing to do here is, if you're finding that your diamantes or this part is wanting to twiddle around a fair bit, go back through and literally put a thread insofar as possible all the way through all of them. I will have done here, so that they all more naturally sit in one direction. Okay, so that's how you put your circle on one end. And now I'm just going to show you the most simplistic way. I'm just going to lob that off there and use this pre-threaded piece of cotton here, or should I say pre-threaded piece of wildfire thread, and I'm going to bring these little beads here. I'm just going to show you how to make a fantastic button out of, I think it's just about 12 or 13 of these bicones, which is how I've created a clasp. It's very useful for a number of things. There we go. In comes the index finger again. Start by going all the way around the index finger. And because I'm using bicones, I'll do it twice. There we go. And then I'm going to pull these two ends down like this. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I'm going to tie a knot in this because I'm going to take this off. Can you see what I'm doing here? Excellent. Right, that I'm doing a surgeon's knot, which means that this goes through not only once, hold on, let's get that out of the way, but it goes through twice. So it's a very robust knot. And then I'm going to lob off the tail here. Remember what I said about not getting too close to the bits that you do want to keep. That might pull off now. The great thing about this thread is it's man-made thread, and there we go. If you really want to be good, get it. There we go. Right. So that's actually melted it, so it makes a wonderful little sort of blobby knot there. Right, what I'm next going to do is go back through one of the beads. I'm going to pick up 3 of the bicones, loop it round. Because this is a button, I want it to be very secure. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. Through here, through here, back through the middle of these two again here, up here. So I want to make this as robust as I can, and when you've made this button shape, you will find, let's just move up my wrong way again, so, and you do one more, so that's your third pass around here, that you need to sew to reinforce it, because you're going to be, this is going to be your doing part of the jewellery, I suppose is the best way of putting it. Let's pop this through here again. Right. Now here's the clever part. I always marvel at how brilliant this little bit is here. Right, you've got your 1, 2, 3 little boxes, 3 little diamonds in a row. You pick up one bead, you go all the way around here to the other side, and I'll show you there. So let's just hold that down and show you. So I've got one bead there in a circle. I'm going to pick up one more bead, and I'm going to go back through here, and I'll show you the shape I've made. Right, so it's like a lozenge, okay? You've got one bead there and one bead there. And then look, this is so exciting. I love doing this. Voila, I have a little button there. Look. Isn't that marvellous? I've got a little button here. Oh. However, now comes the little working part. You have to keep reinforcing, and still, you see it's rather squidgy at the moment. Right, so what I need to do is to stop it being squidgy, and I do that by just basically going around on each face of the button a few times. So I normally will go all the way around the faces on one side, and then it leaves me only 2 other faces to go around, and this reinforces your button, you know. And remember, one of my sort of specialisms is I work in crystal a lot, and so when you're working with thread and crystal, you know, you need to make sure that you do reinforce things properly, otherwise the crystal will cut through the thread. And this, my dear friends, is why I use wildfire thread, and also why I don't. One lady wrote to me recently and said she was rather disappointed that I didn't include the thread in the kit. And the reason I don't is because I don't want to suggest that you have an inferior thread. So the reason I don't include my thread in a kit, I will reiterate now, is I don't want to put in a kit a thread that is inferior for the job that it's doing, which I might have to do, unfortunately, if I was going to reach a price point where I could include the thread. And whilst I appreciate that you can use Nymo thread for working with purely seed beads, I don't find that it gives me such a good and robust result as I do when I'm working with a wild fire thread with crystal, because crystal does have a tendency, well, we know that you use crystal to cut glass, you know, to cut things. So I prefer to work with a good thread, and equally I want to tell you the best things to use with what you're making. I don't want to give you or sell you something that's not going to work very well, to be perfectly honest, because I think that would be unfair and unjust. So we'll go back down to the board again. Now I've done up my confessions, and I'll show you how to finish off this little bobble here. And there we are, we're getting there. It's getting less and less wiggly, and more you know, tightening it up. But it's a little process that has to be done slowly but surely here. I wonder if any of you actually have been watching that Divine Downton series on the telly recently, which is really where I got my inspiration for this lovely 1920s bracelet from, because they've now moved into the 1920s, and I think we're going to be seeing lots of different hairstyles and lots of different clothing styles coming up in the not too distant future. Sorry, I might be putting my fingers all over the bit that you want to see. I hope I'm not. Okay, I think this side here will do for us and actually create the button perfectly for me. There we go. Right, and you'll see in a second, I'll give it a little squidge and you'll see that it's a lot less squidgy. Right, can you see I can't really squidge it anymore? So when you've got to the point like that, and you know therefore that your button is robust enough, now is the time to start sewing it on. And what I would suggest that you do, well, is that you pop your button through there and you sew back up and around a couple of times, and then literally just do a half hitch, which is around and up, like the old-fashioned blanket stitch. And I'm just going to show you this one, which I've done earlier. Along here, I don't know if we can get in enough to see this, we probably can't, but you don't want to sew it so that it is absolutely stuck up, you know, right onto the top of it. You want to leave a little bit of manoeuvring room, basically, so that when you pop that button in to the buttonhole here, like that, it's got a little bit of manoeuvre. And really, there we go, my dear friends. We have our beautiful Roaring Twenties bracelet. Voila! I hope you've enjoyed the video for this, and I hope you enjoy making it as much as I did showing you. Bye bye.